imagine a world where you can see when you're prospecting in Sales Navigator, you can see the information from your CRM to let you know who your organization has contacted previously, who's a good fit. We also allow the user to send their email and notes history from LinkedIn into HubSpot, ultimately to create a scenario where you've got the same information as HubSpot and LinkedIn and vice versa.
When we talk about building the future together through any ecosystem, HubSpot included, we're not just talking about the products we launch or the platforms we build. We're talking about the partnerships too. The 1+1=5 kind of partnerships that can supercharge your customers and make it better together. And there are a lot of reasons to be excited about today's episode, but for me, I am incredibly excited to announce the general availability of the LinkedIn and HubSpot's brand new CRM Sync. This is a new two-way integration between LinkedIn Sales Navigator and HubSpot's Smart CRM that supercharges sales teams, unlocks real-time people-powered data to bring the right context at the right time to prospect smarter and accelerate revenue growth. I've been lucky to be working on this partnership for a bit of time now, but I'm really excited to welcome the man who's been the driving force behind this at LinkedIn to give you a look behind the scenes. Lee Womer, Vice President of Business Development at LinkedIn. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you so much, Karen. Super grateful to be on, and super glad that we're able to bring the partnership to customers that you just described. I know it's been a long time coming.
I know it's been tricky. I was like, I think the last few years, I think it's been fun. It was great to see the announcement at Inbound. But before we get into it, I know a lot of our listeners would love to learn about your background and the kinds of teams that you've been leading. Can you tell us a little bit more about your role as VP of Business Development at LinkedIn? And then how did that come to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I oversee business development for LinkedIn's products and services marketplace. So I'll talk a little bit more about how LinkedIn thinks about marketplaces, but ultimately think of that as buyers on one side who are coming to LinkedIn and using our services. And on the other side, the marketers and sellers who interface with those buyers. Been at LinkedIn for over 11 years. I've overseen partnerships pretty much in every part of our business throughout that time. And I guess I'm working backwards, but I started out in corporate development of the company. I did some of our early acquisitions, worked on a bunch of our early strategy, kind of helped build that function way back in the early days of the company. I guess what I would say is if I look at my background, I started my career in M&A and strategy. I spent some time in investment banking, then worked forward into corp dev. And ultimately got to a point where just personally, the ability to sort of find win-wins between a pair of companies in the space was just super interesting to me. And it got me a lot closer and deeper in the product roadmap and the go-to-market cycle. And for me, having kind of started my career in sort of strategy M&A, thinking about the firm and how you create value at a firm level, BD was a really good mix of strategy and ops in terms of creating value. And so it's just worked for me. I've been doing it for most of my time at LinkedIn.
Cool. We've heard that at LinkedIn, you always have to tell something that's like one thing not on your LinkedIn profile. Tell us, Lee, what is one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile?
I'm excited about that.
I never love this question, but one thing that I think is that's not on my profile that is maybe unique. So I'm the first member of my family to have gone to college. I'm actually the first member of my family who hasn't lived in a town in eastern Pennsylvania called Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is it was a steel town. It's kind of it's what you would call kind of a Rust Belt town. It's a town that went through a bunch of hard times, and something like 7 generations of my family lived there, like as far back as we could find on Ancestry. And where I'm going with this is like, it's not lost on me that like there was a trend line, and the opportunities that I've had in my life have been very different than what that trend line would have suggested. There were a lot of things that had to kind of come together by chance to like create this sort of like diversion from the trend line. And like I kind of never forget about that. And working at a company, at LinkedIn, like our vision is to connect talent with opportunity. I think that there's something in the fact that I look back at like the history and the trend line, and the fact that like so I had some fortunate opportunities arise, and abilities to connect with opportunity, that makes me really passionate about working at a company where that is the vision of helping to sort of connect people with opportunity in ways that help them find careers that they're happy with and fulfilled by. So
I love that. I was like, that's probably why HubSpot and LinkedIn I love so much together. We have the similar mission, like help
absolutely.
organizations, help these SMBs grow, and it can be from anywhere, any trajectory bending.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, so you mentioned your journey to LinkedIn and BD. I know that at lots of companies, BD means many different things at different places. LinkedIn, meanwhile, has been building the BD function for a really long time. So can you share for our audience a little bit about how you think about BD, what it means for LinkedIn, and ultimately kind of how it's structured today?
LinkedIn thinks about itself as a set of marketplaces. And so, like, generally, we are at our best when we're connecting two sets of constituents to accomplish something. So it could be someone looking for information on the network. It could be somebody, a seller looking to connect with a prospect. It could be a recruiter looking to connect with a candidate. But ultimately, those interactions break down into three marketplaces. So the first one is something we call the knowledge marketplace, which most people know as kind of the free side of LinkedIn. You go to LinkedIn, you see updates from your network, you see news, things like that. That's the knowledge marketplace. That's where we have over 1 billion members. Then we have the talent marketplace, which is people looking for jobs, recruiters looking for people, people looking for learning. And then most germane to this conversation, you have the products and services marketplace, which I talked about a little bit earlier in my introduction, which is buyers on one side, sellers and marketers on the other side. We organize our BD team against those three marketplaces, ultimately looking for ways to create value via partnerships against those marketplaces. And really, I guess I'll say there's three main types of partnerships that we pursue. There are partnerships that power the product itself. So we're working with another player to provide key functionality on LinkedIn. A good example of that is the way we work with publishers to contribute content to the LinkedIn feed, to drive activity on the LinkedIn feed. There are partnerships where we distribute our services to third parties. I think a good example of that is we work with a bunch of mobile phone providers to preload the LinkedIn app on their phone, and distribute LinkedIn to more members. And then lastly, we do partnerships that with adjacent companies in adjacent products to make our products work more seamlessly with adjacent products. And so I think most of the things we do with HubSpot fall into that category. And so CRM Sync, which we're announcing, I think is a great example of that, where it allows a customer to work seamlessly across our products in HubSpot. In the marketing business, we have a long-standing partnership with HubSpot, obviously, where we have many integrations across the entire marketer journey. And that's another example of that last type of partnerships that allows our customers to work seamlessly across products.
Cool. Yeah, no, this one has been in the works. It's been a dream, I think, in the HubSpot side too for quite a bit of time. When you looked at in that version of like two companies or two products working better together, what excited you? What did you see about the possibilities of CRM Sync between HubSpot, Smart CRM, and LinkedIn Sales Navigator?
Yeah. So what I would say is, again, we have a very long-standing relationship with HubSpot, where we've created a ton of value for customers. So we were super excited to extend that value into a new place with CRM Sync. And I think about two main areas. So one, CRM Sync helps sellers become much more efficient. And so the ability to help a seller on HubSpot eliminate steps in their workflow, eliminate toggling between systems. We have tons of data that suggests that creates meaningful efficiencies. In fact, there's a Forrester study that shows that CRM Sync helps a seller save almost 3 hours per week of time.
Amazing.
And so dedicating that time to other activities that are higher value than just like, working and reconciling between systems. And so I think that notion of seller efficiency was one of the main things. One of the things we're super excited about at LinkedIn is the ability to help marketers and sellers work more effectively together. Basically break down silos between those organizations, help them work from the same sets of data. And CRM Sync really helps do that and helps lay the groundwork for future things that we can do to do that. And so the ability to work with HubSpot, a company that has built such incredible products that allow marketers and sellers to work seamlessly across the life cycle, and work on a product like CRM Sync with you all to sort of move closer to that world of seamless integration between marketing and selling. Super exciting for us.
That's awesome. Lee, can you for folks at home who may not be as familiar with CRM Sync as we are, can you share a little bit about what it actually is?
Absolutely. Let's think about it as a user flow. So if you are a seller, prospecting in Sales Navigator, so Sales Navigator is LinkedIn's flagship product for sellers. You're looking for prospects. You're like we're helping companies find and contact prospects. You can leverage information from your CRM to make that experience more effective. So imagine a world where you can see when you're prospecting in Sales Navigator, you can see the information from your CRM to let you know who your organization has contacted previously, who's a good fit. We also use that information to target notifications and make the experience better and more efficient in Sales Navigator. Now, when you find prospects in Sales Navigator, you have the ability as a user with a click to export a portion of that, a record of that person into HubSpot, so that you can do all of the activities that you do to engage with that prospect, nurture that prospect, move that prospect through the funnel from HubSpot. We also allow the user to send their InMail and notes history from LinkedIn into HubSpot, ultimately to create a scenario where you've got the same information as HubSpot and LinkedIn and vice versa. The last thing I'll say on that seller flow is that we show a view of an individual member within HubSpot, where you can see their profile information, things that they've done on the network, all obviously public activity that user makes available. But but basically view that information within HubSpot to again help create one sort of picture of that prospect. And the last thing I'll say, because there's a lot within CRM Sync, but that was sort of the seller flow. CRM Sync also allows you to I was talking about breaking down the walls between marketers and sellers. It allows a marketer to leverage the information from their CRM via our revenue attribution report to make sure that they understand win-wins on the sales process, which is obviously where revenue gets created. So a lot of features there, a lot of things we're excited about, and we think there's a ton of value for customers.
So excited just hearing you talk about it. I was like, our teams have been working so closely together about each of those scenarios, and it's exciting to see it come to fruition.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is.
Absolutely.
I think about I was excited to see it, obviously, as someone who's carried a bag in the past and sold. We had a guest on recently, Jill Rowley, who talked about how content is queen, and really having the context for who you're reaching out to is just so important to establish that connection. And when we looked at CRM Sync, I think what you get is both efficiency, to your point, and effectiveness. So you have faster time to sort of research, switching between systems to sort of learn about your prospects, and then the actual effectiveness of having that context and truly connecting with folks. So there is just so much to be excited about for our partners and for our customers. I'm really excited about what we're announcing.
We have partners who are listening from all different viewpoints: startups, scale-ups, app partners, solution partners, verticals, you kind of name it. How do you think about what is important in establishing, developing, or measuring the impact of partner just based on the maturity or focus of a partner?
What I would say is, I mentioned the three ways that we work with partners to create value. We work with partners that help us power our products, that help us distribute our products, or allow customers to work seamlessly across both. We start with the use case. So we identify use cases that achieve one of those three things. We identify partners that can help us with those use cases, and we build out partnerships from there. We generally work with software partners. That's just the model that's kind of worked best for us with our product portfolio, and those generally tend to be horizontal as opposed to industry specific players. It just has been the way that works out. But maybe that dovetails into scale is a really important criteria. So we work with companies that. We have to prioritize our resources, and we
And
think about
scale, you mean
companies
like
that.
how big or reach they are?
Yeah, generally, I would say joint customer overlap tends
Got
to
it.
be one of the key criteria. So yeah, the size of the partner and the scale they bring is a key criteria we consider. That said, we work with a ton of startups, and the place where it makes sense to we do have a set of self-serve capabilities that startups use, and then in terms of investing more deeply in partnerships, if a company has less scale, it kind of increases the premium on having sort of a novel use case that companies are
Mhm.
delivering. But there's a lot of examples throughout our history where we've identified earlier stage companies that might have less scale and are working on something really novel that creates value that we invest in. And you asked about adoption. I guess what I would say is, in general, LinkedIn has a very large direct sales force, and they play a really key role in driving adoption. But at the same time, we work with many of our partners like HubSpot on co-marketing, co-selling opportunities to sort of drive adoption of those integrations, which creates a ton of leverage. Measurement, it kind of goes back to, you asked about measurement too. It goes back to the marketplaces. If it strengthens our marketplaces, those three marketplaces I mentioned, creates value for our members and customers, that's kind of how we think about success.
Cool. Yeah, no, app partners, if you're listening, part of the question was Lee has this really interesting perspective on like, what do you need to be if you're going to be one of these partnership players? Scale is super important, making a dent in the market, having a novel use case. But yeah, any other advice, Lee, for like, we were an app partner. This integration, CRM Sync, is essentially two companies coming together that had really good shared overlap on customer base for all these up and coming apps or integrations or companies. Any advice to them as you think about like what should they be focused on if they want to create kind of a win-win like this?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is, and this is probably not going to come as a surprise, but think about value to the customer. That it starts with that. In addition to that, one unique thing about LinkedIn, we have a pretty unique model in that we have a giant member audience, over 1 billion members now.
That's amazing.
And that is a constituency we serve, and we balance that with customer considerations. And so, something that's maybe a little different from LinkedIn and other software companies is we have that member audience that we need to optimize for. So if you're approaching LinkedIn thinking about something that is good for members and good for the customer, I think is really key. And then thinking about the three marketplaces I mentioned and how we can work to better together to create value across those three marketplaces, I think is really key.
Lee, I am really curious. I think in this age of AI, I would love to get your thoughts and your perspective on how you see AI sort of evolving and impacting sales efforts and partners' efforts over the next, say, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, well, so what I would say is, I think it's very clear that in a world of AI, it makes integration between systems that much more important. The magic AI scenarios that we all get excited about are dependent on having sort of tight integration between different systems, and so I think partnerships get more important as AI becomes more prevalent. I guess the other factor that comes to mind for me, taking into account the fact that partnerships get more important. I mean, at LinkedIn, we're always thinking about the fact that how talent plays a role in some of these things, and the premium or the skills needed to succeed in such a world where partnerships get more important, I think the need for skills amongst partnership teams, partnership functions goes way up. And so, one stat that we have, that we have via our economic graph team at LinkedIn is that we expect that by 2030, after you factor in the prevalence of AI, something in the order of 68% of skills that professionals use today will be different by 2030. And so, so those, we have a bunch of data like that via our economic graph team, and like that's something that's always on my mind in terms of the, when you see a massive technology shift like that, how do you sort of take advantage of that in a way that offers value to customers? You got to have the people and the skills to do it, and upskilling and training partnership teams and functions is going to be really key to that.
I love that. Totally agree.
Yeah, talent growth is going to be really important.
So we all talk to partners a lot every day. What are some of the things that you're hearing from partners right now, or the ecosystem that's driving innovation?
Couple of things that come to mind. So one is users really want to make sure that they can use services in the flow of work. And so CRM Sync is actually a great example of that, because we are thinking about how to deliver more of our services into the flow of work where people are working. And so, like with Sales Navigator, that is a very that's sort of a very popular product. We're thinking about new things to sort of deliver search experiences into the CRM and other systems where sellers are working. Second point, I would say, obviously, the advances in AI. And so, for us, that's opened up a whole set of new product experiences that we can deliver. One of those is a new product we're rolling out called Account IQ, which effectively leverages LinkedIn data to provide a primer on the company and person you're meeting before a meeting. So cool. you have what you need going into the meeting. And back to my point about flow of work, that's something that we're looking to deliver in systems, like HubSpot and others. AI is helping us become more efficient in helping marketers. Within our campaign management tool, we're doing a ton of work to basically take a little bit of input from the marketer. It could be like the URL for your web page, and then AI helps generate most of your marketing campaign and optimize your marketing campaign. And so, like, those advances in AI are creating new opportunities that didn't exist before. And the last thing I'll say is, when we think about the broader sort of marketing and sales space that we work in, there are massive changes going on in the identity landscape. So platforms are changing, regulations are changing. And in the B2B space, we think that creates a ton of opportunity because, as you know, the B2B process is centered around buying groups, not individuals. And we have a set of solutions that help you target the buying group and then sort of measure the impact of your efforts to target those buyer groups, including down funnel outcomes that are closer to value, which is a ton of focus for us and something we're hearing is really important to customers right now. So I could keep going on, but those are some things that we're hearing that are really exciting for us right now.
Wow.
Very cool.
You just made us both even more excited about our partnership between our organizations. I didn't think it was possible.
There's a ton we can do. So I want to get invited back.
About our follow-up conversation we need to talk about, like that account
exactly.
IQ,
yes.
how to do that together.
Yes, this is all an attempt to get invited back.
Done.
Cool. Well, Lee, thanks so much for your partnership at LinkedIn and for joining the show today. It's been great to just dive in for our ecosystem.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And thank you for the partnership, and look forward to getting CRM Sync in our customers' hands.
Listeners, if you love today's episode, you're in luck. We'll be back with more Good Morning Ecosystem next Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.